If you work for the Catholic Church and want to transform the culture of your parish and put more souls in the pews, we're here to help. I'm Ty Hua, here with my co-host, Jon Cons, and this is the Catholic Ministry Professionals Podcast, the leadership development podcast for Catholic churches. Today, we're having a conversation with a real live Catholic ministry professional, Nicole Morse. Nicole, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. It's been a good day for us. Man, there was a storm last night. Did you guys have a storm where you're at, Nicole?
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
Lots of
here
wind.
in Northwest Iowa, man, it was windy. We live on a hill, so every time, I can hear our whole house creaking when the wind really gets going like that. And those are moments where you just say, well, Lord, it stood up this long. Let's hope it keeps going. Well, it's really good to have you on the podcast, and I'm excited to have our conversation. We met a little while back, and I'm actually going to switch up some of our questions here. But we met at a Catholic Ministry Professionals workshop that I ran with the Sioux City Diocese, and so I'd just love to have you just kind of share your thoughts on what that experience was like, because it kickstarted a whole conversation between you and me and a desire to bear more fruit in our ministries. And so I'd just love you to share a little bit about the Catholic Ministry Professionals workshop and really what stood out to you from that experience that leads us to where we're talking today on the podcast.
So I was hired recently at my parish to be the new director of lifelong faith formation. And one of the first things that they told me is we have a bunch of trainings for you to go to. And the first training was at St. Mary's in Storm Lake. And it was a day of listening to Jon Cons talk about all of these amazing tools for creating goals and planning and organizing and getting your ministry off to a jump start. And it's something that I've always been studying, and I have a master's degree in general psychology, and one of the things that we studied was leadership. It was one of my focuses, along with vocation discernment. So this was like a dream come true, that one of my first trainings would be about leading, planning, organizing a plan of life, a program of life, and how, being a saint is obviously the most important goal that we have, but we also need to be organized saints. And it's a process, and it takes constant work. So, it was very exciting to hear the principles being talked about. And I really liked tools. We were given a planner that had questions to fill out and charts and calendars and things to track your goals and how you're progressing. And I just found it very helpful. And I started working on it right away. And it's just been it's been a big blessing as I'm getting started, because I have a lot of churches that I'm responsible for serving. So, I was very pleased.
I'm so glad to hear that you took a lot from that, and I'm amazed that they sold it as an opportunity to hear Jon Cons talk. You signed up anyway. Ty, how high would that be on your list of things to attend?
I would have attended if it said, here's your opportunity to not have Jon Cons talk.
Pay money to hear him shut up.
I would have paid money. Yep. And throw things.
Well, so, that's awesome.
Nicole, when you say I'm using these things now, like what types of impacts to your ministry are coming from utilizing some of the tools, the best practices, tips, and stuff that you've gotten from this workshop?
So when I was being interviewed for my job, our pastor, Father Matthew Salentius, told me one of the tasks of the director of lifelong faith formation is to help unify the parishes, because merging is a difficult process, and it's been hard for us. And sorry, the question was I'm getting a little lost here, but that's okay.
What was the impact of using what you learned? Yes.
So when I started filling out the questions, they were applying directly to what Father had asked me to do. And I just started thinking okay, so if my number one assignment is to foster unity, what does that look like in smaller concrete goals? Who am I working with? What do I need to do with them or for them? And that's when I just sat down and started writing ideas that I had been given or that had come to me in prayer. And then like, okay, what are some smaller steps that I need to do for these to happen? And I started getting to know people, just having conversations with the other directors of faith formation in the smaller sites. And yeah, just, and then sharing with them my goals, all of the breakdown that I had done in like praying through, planning, organizing for my own work here at Divine Mercy Parish in Algona. And then they were like, oh yeah, well, we have some goals too. And I just said, well, I'd love to hear about them. And it just created conversations, and it just got the teamwork process rolling very naturally, and they're very open and receptive.
Absolutely. I like so much of what you're saying comes back to and I'm going to steal this, by the way, this phrase that you said, organized saints. I just think that that is so important because so much often we look at the stories of the saints, we think they're just flying by the seat of their pants, making stuff up as they goes. But no, there's very clear, structured goals stemming from a discernment and prayer. And I love that the workshop and our conversations have really helped you to kind of put like the things in your head and your heart down on paper into concrete, manageable chunks that you can still accomplish, even though you have this crazy big task in front of you. And you talked about it a little bit. So tell us a little bit about your role there. You said 7 churches, is that right? Tell us a little bit about like the scope of the task that you have in front of you.
So 4 years ago, 7 different small towns in Iowa were merged into one parish. They called it Divine Mercy Parish. And we have 3 faith formation programs, because some of the parishes were so small that they decided to combine them at particular sites. So we have faith formation at West Bend, Bancroft, and Algona. Algona is the largest site because they have a Catholic school, pre-K to 12. And there's just been a lot of difficulty organizing communication and collaboration with all these people in these little towns that are so used to operating independently. And like, they're genuinely amazing, good, generous people. But all of a sudden, they get this thrown at them that now we all have to work together. And it's like, well, how do you even do that? How do you start? I don't know. People don't even know where to begin. And then there's all these miscommunications and just oversights, and people start feeling like, oh, hey, they're neglecting my church. Like, what's going on? Why did that church get this and we didn't? And then the priest can only be in one place at one time. And so he needs a team under him. But if that team is having a hard time, like learning how to work together, it creates a very painful situation. And that is where we were in the beginning. I wasn't here at that point. This is my childhood territory, but I was away for many years and then just recently came back. And so when I got back, they were like telling me all the stuff that they had gone through together and just how hard it was. And they're like, we really need you. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I am one little person. What can I do? Not much, but you know what? I can do something. And I just realized that the one thing I can do is look for the good, look for what we have, and help motivate other people, point out to them the good that's in each of them, and then help them have a desire and start saying like, okay, I want to help you, Nicole. Like, how can we work together to unite our parish? And it's been really exciting to see people come alive very quickly. Just them hearing my ideas, me hearing their experience and their ideas. I think a lot of it was just people feeling like a new person is here who has hope and ideas and energy and is willing to help. And also, I just communicate very strongly to people like, I'm here to serve you. I'm not here to be the top dog and lead and control. I actually am here just to make your life easier. And you tell me what you have to offer, what you need, and we can work together. And I want to connect you with other people in the parish. So that's kind of what it's been looking like.
That's awesome. So you touched on one area, communication. Mm-hmm. How do you begin to even manage communication, scheduling within this, obviously from parish to parish, there's different cultures. And I mean work cultures. So how do you come in as a new person and manage that type of differing cultures, whether that's, hey, they like to communicate this way or they schedule it this way. Like, how do you begin to do that, Nicole?
The first thing I do is strike up a conversation and say, hey, would you like to go out to coffee together or meet at a cafe? And we're just going to get to know each other. Because a lot of times people need like time to just feel like, oh, she's seeing me as an individual. And like, I can tell her all kinds of parts of my story that are affected by the parish and like the history of our area. And like, yeah, some of it I know, but I want to hear it from this person's perspective. And that's where it starts. It's just getting to know one person at a time. And in those conversations, when we're getting to know each other, I start hearing little cues like, oh, there's an interest in this. There's a protest against that. Here's a place of angst, and it just gives me little flags of where I need to put my attention. And the next time, and then at the end of that conversation, I start thinking like, okay, how can I meet with this person again? And like I'll ask for their phone number and their email. And then I'll go to my office after the end of that and just pray. And I'm like, okay, Lord, how do you want me to connect with this person? And a lot of my job is just frequently throughout the day stopping and saying little prayers because I don't know what I'm doing, but God does. This is his plan.
Well, I appreciate that humility. I love that. And I think there's a really, I think you leaned into something that is maybe intuitive to you that we can often lose sight of in the whirlwind of parish life, which is that it as broad and as overwhelming as that task can sound, unite these 7 different churches under one parish, you're still realizing that it comes down to the relationships that you form. And there's just a simplicity in that need to encounter the individual, which is obviously, as we know, like you can't disciple an entire room of people. You can disciple individuals, and it seems like you're first seeking to identify your team, your leader, your people who are cued into this message. And you talked about that even a little while back about identifying where is the good, like where is the fruit here, where is God already working, and how do we step into that river that's already flowing, so that we're not trying to roll a boulder up a hill, but rather we're trying to take advantage of the momentum of the Holy Spirit who is already here working, and how important that is. And especially just to be able to listen with an intent, right? Your desire is still to lead them towards unity, but you have to understand and kind of clarify and define some of those pieces in the midst of that, so you can begin that process of communication and even uniting the communication so that it's not 7 different churches with 7 different ways of doing things, but one parish that has one way of following Christ together. Does that sound fair?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think for me, one of the truths that I learned through life, I was in the convent for 23 years, and something that I learned very strongly was God is at work, and I am here to allow him to show me what he's doing and to help him. It's not about me. And so to do that, it takes a lot of listening, a lot of quiet time. It seems like it might look like a waste of time on the outside, like, hey, this is a 9-to-5 job or 8-to-4 job, it doesn't matter. But I'm here, and like, why am I going to sit in the chapel for 3 minutes after a phone call? Like, why am I doing this? Why don't I just go and hit the next job? Isn't that wasting my time? Or staying after work to make a holy hour? The more quiet time I spend with the Lord, the more still I get inside. And the more still I am inside, the better I can hear him. And just including like spiritual reading and good podcasts, have them around while I'm working during the day. And like, if my brain gets fuzzy, which often happens, I just stop, pull out a good book, read a paragraph, put it down, and get back to work again. Or have the podcast playing while I'm doing other things. And it's just always feeding with silence and then study. So.
Yeah, what a gift too to be, to one, have had that preparation, that time in the convent to really form you spiritually. And that's something we say over and over again ad nauseum on the podcast, is how important it is to be a saint first, to pray first. And I'm a huge advocate for that for our Catholic ministry professionals, that you're not being paid to pray, but on some level you are being paid to pray. Like, you're being paid to discern, you're being paid to hear the voice of God and to do your best to fulfill his will for this parish, for this church, for this community that you serve. And in order to do that, you have to pray. I mean, Mother Teresa, there's that famous story about her where she had her nuns all of her nuns would have to do a holy hour every day. And one of her sisters came up and said, Mother, we don't have enough time to spend a whole hour in adoration. We need to go out and execute XYZ tasks. And so Mother Teresa, in all her wisdom, said, well, then we better do 2 holy hours. That's the reality of it, which is the more that I lean into God, the more he is actually able to accomplish through me. And being the Lord and God of time and space, he has an ability to be able to make more out of less when we hand it over to him with the right intent and in the right framework and in the right rhythms and stuff. And it seems like you're really hitting on that. I'm just curious, this is deviating from the questions we gave you, but what encouragement would you give to a Catholic ministry professional like you, who is frustrated, a little burned out because they have what feels like too big of a task with too few wins, and says, I just don't have time to go and pray?
So I would encourage that person to take, even if it's just starting with a minute, like going into the church, genuflect, stop, and just say, hello, Lord. If that's all you can do, start there, but work on increasing that. And if you're having trouble with, facing all the challenges that do come in working for the church, there's always going to be spiritual warfare. I would recommend focusing on one thing that went well today. At the end of each day, is there something? It doesn't matter how small it is or what. Something that went well. And then I've also developed a habit of praying every once in a while when I have something that's like causing anxiety, 'cause that happens. I say, Lord, I'm looking forward to see how this goes well. And maybe it's not going to go perfectly, but something will go right in it. Maybe I'll only reach 2 people, but out of 50, but it doesn't matter. I reached those 2. And maybe half of the parents in the faith formation program will get up and walk out, but that's okay. That's on them, but
And
it's
we're
that fact that,
evangelizing. We're going to need those
yeah,
seats.
yeah. And it doesn't, I can't focus on the negative. I have to focus on the fact that some of them stayed. And maybe those that stayed will help draw the others back again. And I'm always going to lose someone. I'm always going to have something go wrong. But I've learned it's so important to count the good fruits and surrender the ones that seem spoiled or bad to the Lord and say, okay, Lord, I'm looking forward to see how you deal with this, because I certainly don't know what to do.
Yes. So what a great thought process of like, Lord, I can't wait to see how this turns out. It reminds me of sometimes when I step up to the tee box and I'm about to hit a golf ball. And I say the same thing, like, Lord, I'm really excited to see where this turns out, because I have no
Are
idea
you
where it's going. So no, but let's take a step back and let's count the good fruit. Can you share a recent win that made you feel like, man, this is working? I love this. Like, this is what I went to that workshop for, or this is what I had envisioned. Like, do you have any examples that you can share with us?
I actually have a number of them, because right now we just are getting ready for the fall semester to start. And so there's a lot of planning and meetings and stuff that have to happen. And these are a lot of opportunities for faith. And I was really nervous, because I was told, all of the church sites in this parish are really stubborn, get ready. And I was actually really surprised for the good. I got to meet a lot of the people working in faith formation and the directors of the programs in the smaller sites, and just start getting to know people as people. And that meant so much to me because I got a ton of ideas for them. They gave me a huge amount of the background of like the situation, how it was before I got here, and what they would like from me. And that was just very clarifying. And then I was able to take the planner and the questions that I had from the training day and start filling it out. Be like, okay, these are where my challenges are. These are where the blessings are. These are people I have to work with, resources, and these are my goals. And then I shared those with a lot of the ladies that I work with. Mostly women are on in the faith formation program for the children, but we do have some men working with the middle school and high schoolers. And I'm trying to mix that up this year, get married couples teaching. And I got a whole bunch of married couples to agree to help. And I was really excited about that because there's something about holy matrimony that bears great fruit for the church in evangelization. So now I have married couples helping me, teaching children, working together. I'm forming friendships with these people. We're creating a unified team. And I have a lot of contacts from talking to each of these people. Like, oh, you need to reach out to this person and this other one and this other one. And these are what they can do for you. And yeah, it's just a lot of resources coming out of getting to know new people. Also, I've been developing friendships with the directors of religious education. And we've been, we went out at a cafe and then we are setting up coffee time where I meet with each of them one-on-one. And then we have a group meeting. And we created a parish calendar, and we worked together to give Father a list of kinks in the schedule and questions that we had. And then he emailed us all back at the same time, and we got it worked out. And I was like, whoa, we went from 0 to 100. Like, we're working as a team here. And just seeing them like warm up as they realize that I'm here, I want their ideas. And they have a lot to offer, and I recognize that. So those were a lot of the good fruits. There's probably a lot more. And I also am starting to be aware of ways that I would like to involve people in like prayer ministry. So reaching out to older parishioners who have told me like, my health is not up to helping you. Like I'm not up to helping you because my health isn't good. But I'm realizing I can give these people a list of prayer intentions and create like a prayer team where I just send them an email once in a while and say, hey guys, here's what's going on in faith formation. And like ask them to pray. So.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so much of what I hear your fruit coming from too is that there's a real clarity of vision. And again, I want to pull that out because it's something we talk about all the time in the podcast, is how important it is to know where you're going and why. And while you might not have like all the minutia of the detail kind of hammered out for that, you still know like you have this vision the pastor gave you, like this goal, which is to unify all of the parishes. And in doing your best to follow through on that, you're seeing that, yeah, this clarity of direction allows me to have conversations that are leading to fruit. To soil that is cultivated in the hearts of people's minds, in people's hearts and minds, so that when you then invite them into something, they're more ready to say yes, and to say yes for the right reasons, and in a way that makes sense for a vision, which really does line up with what your pastor handed to you. So I love that what you see here is that fruit born out of kind of clarity of intention and action, and that. I just think has been so valuable for you.
Yeah. I recognize that as the school year progresses, the little steps that need to be taken and smaller goals will become more clear. And up until the school year starts, I feel like my job is just get out there, meet people, recruit, get everyone lined up, and then have curriculum ready for them. But then as the year goes on, like keep in touch with them, and like then it will say, oh, here's where a problem came up. Now we have a smaller goal. We need to fix this, or at least work on strengthening this area. And then I'll have more information to work with at that point, and I will be getting to know my people better. So right now it's like there's a lot of faith involved in this. Like, Lord, I know you're gonna lead me. One obstacle, one blessing, one step at a time. Um, and I'm waiting, allowing him to just give me the big picture first.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't think it can be. I don't think it could be overstated how important that is too. Where like your vineyard is not just your office where your computer is. The vineyard is outside of that door. So you going out into the school, going out into the parish, going out into the community, having coffee with people, that is the vineyard. It's not just in your office. So what a lot of Catholic ministry professionals can get stuck in is this idea, well, I have my parish office and my people that are right outside my door. And then it becomes this very closed like group think where you're just sharing the same ideas around in a vacuum, but you are actually going out and receiving. And I don't think that I just want to again applaud you. I think you're doing a really I just think that's a really wonderful way to kind of enter into the ministry, especially having just started in this position, but already seeing the fruit of it. So
Thank you.
thank you for doing that. Looking ahead, is there one area where you feel the Holy Spirit is specifically asking you to take a next step, or do you, and how are you discerning that call a little bit?
So right now, I'm trying to develop, like, adjust our curriculum so that our parents show up and they directly teach their own children at Faith Formation Night. Because up until now,
Do they know
we've
you're
tried.
trying to do this?
The rumors are spreading. I'm kind of getting the word out there,
Hmm.
one person at a time, but we're going to have an information night, and we're moving from once a month lesson and a once a month activity to every week meeting. And I'm having to kind of work with the curriculum. So writing short stories, we're using Family of Faith, which is very good. But a lot of our parents don't know very basic Catholic stuff. And they kind of fell out of the practice of their faith when they were younger. And now they have kids and they want their kids to know the Lord and receive the sacraments and be members of the church, which is great. But the problem is the kids are not going to retain that if it doesn't come from mom and dad. But mom and dad don't remember anything. And so it's now recreating the material that we're giving them so that it's simple. It's a story. Mom and dad read this story with illustrations to their kids at a table. And then there's little questions and activities sprinkled through the story as we go to give them something that they can do. And I'm in the room and I'm hoping to have other volunteers like just available to field questions. And because we've had the experience where we've had parents that don't know how to read. We've had kids that don't know how to read. And like simple stuff like that can put a huge obstacle and a very embarrassing moment for a family and could drive them away. So I want to be available for them and just like say, you know what? It's okay. You've got this. We're right here. And just start reading the story, or someone can kind of read the story with the family. And then, but always working so that mom and dad are leading the discussion. Putting in the hands of the parents the things that they need to do their own job, because we cannot take the place of mom and dad. There's just we can't. So that's my goal for this year, is to give the parents what they need to do their own job and to take them by the hand and walk along with them as they do it, and more frequent meetings. So
Yeah. So it sounds like you're in luck, because we actually have a sales and marketing guru on with us right now. Ty works in the sales and marketing world. So Ty, how would you recommend, if you're trying to sell these parents on the idea that they're going to have to come in for weekly classes, what would be your approach to that? Or how would you encourage Nicole to reach out to them and share that good news?
I think the biggest thing, you'd already touched on it. A lot of these parents are falling away in knowledge of the faith. And what is that desire to bring their kids into that? Right. So we have to connect kind of the pain point of, man, I lost my faith. I lost the understanding of my faith, and I really want to get back into it. Well, how do I do that? And what I found from my experience as a parent, as a catechist, is that most of these parents are too embarrassed to really dig their heels in and relearn what I would call a reversion into the faith, because I also went through a conversion and a reversion into the faith. So I would just touch on that. You know, like most of these parents, this is a great time to relearn your faith because your kids need you. The only thing you could take into heaven is other people. You can't take your money, you can't take your house, you can't take your cars, but you can take your spouse and your kids. So let's together learn the faith. Let's start spreading the faith and living out that faith. So I think if you focus on that and you start bringing that into attention and just asking them, you know, if they're showing an aversion into learning and being a part of it, well, just ask them, why is it important for your kids to be here? Well, I want to get them to heaven. I hope that's the answer. And not just because
I need an hour to go shopping.
Right. So I think if we focus on that and just bring them back into this idea that we're all trying to get to heaven, and you're in charge of getting your kids to heaven and your spouse to heaven, they also want you there. So let's get each other to heaven.
Love it.
I think that's a great sell, because that is why they're there, whether they realize it or not.
Exactly.
We lose sight of that all the time, is that we are selling the world's greatest product, which is the one thing the soul desires, wants, and needs. Amen. Amen. Well, Nicole, thank you for being on the podcast today. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it too.
Absolutely. Well, and thank you, dear listeners, for listening to the Catholic Ministry Professionals podcast. If you found this show helpful, please take a few seconds to text it to a priest or a friend in ministry who could benefit from it.
And with that, we'll see you in the vineyard.